We photographers may present as polite, socially awkward nerds, but we're just as tribal as any other hobby. And second only to camera brand, nothing defines your allegiances in the photographic tribes more than the raw editor you use. In recent years, the folks in the Adobe tribe have suffered from an unrelenting onslaught of negative press, thanks to price hikes, subscription hate, strong competition, and performance criticism. And I certainly didn't hold back in trying to hold Adobe to account. So in 2026, with the combo Photoshop and Lightroom bundle costing $20 per month for new sign-ups, and Capture One, Photolab and Zona Studio offering compelling alternatives, is Lightroom worth it? Grab your pitchforks, folks, we're talking about Adobe. Like it or love it, Lightroom is far and away the most popular RAW editor on the planet, and it's not even close. There might be a million photographers out there who'd love to see Adobe fail, but their motto might as well be haters gonna hate, because their profit margins have never looked better. I've been a Lightroom user from pretty much the very beginning, and I decided to stick with Adobe when the Creative Cloud subscription was introduced in 2012 for the simple reason that I didn't like the alternatives, and I thought the pricing at that time was a good deal. These days, Lightroom is not my main editor for portfolio shots. I prefer to use Photolab for those. But it is where I manage my library of nearly 250,000 photographs and where I do all my bread and butter edits. So, yeah, I'm still paying Adobe every month despite having alternatives I genuinely like. The question is whether that makes me a pragmatist or a mug. And to answer that, we need to talk numbers. While Adobe have come in for a lot of flack for hiking their prices, the truth is that the photography bundle sat at $9.99 per month for over a decade. Not many companies would keep the exact same price for that long, but for whatever reason, Adobe did. In fact, it was only in January 2025, more than 11 years after launching the photography bundle, that the price was hiked to $15 per month. So, while we can argue until hell freezes over that Adobe are price gouging their loyal customers and that the entire subscription model sucks, they did at least keep the prices static for a prolonged period of time. In order to wrap my head around the real-world cost of Adobe versus the competition, I had Gemini crunch the numbers using the US dollar pricing in all cases, and I've converted all that data into 3 charts. In this scenario, we purchased the software and then decided to update it every year in order to ensure we have the latest versions with the latest new features and enhancements. If we look at the actual costs over a 5-year period, the data looks like this. The Adobe Combo Suite with Lightroom and Photoshop costs just under $1,200 over that 5-year period. Capture One costs just under $1,110. Photolab costs just over $700. Photo Raw costs just over $400. And Zona Studio costs just under $300. So immediately we can state that there isn't really a big difference between Adobe and Capture One if you choose to update. You could, of course, buy Capture One and never update it, which is an option you do not have with Adobe. And I know for a fact that it's a position a lot of professional photographers have adopted, using a 10-year-old version of Capture One because it just works. And of course, if you did decide not to update Capture One, your costs over that 5-year period will be a quarter of the cost of owning the Adobe apps. Is it feasible in the real world to not update an app like Capture One? Absolutely, assuming that you have not updated to a camera system that isn't supported by the old version. Owning Photolab over that 5-year period is a bit over half the cost of the Adobe Photography Suite. The further advantage is that DxO offer a 2-year grace period for half-price updates. And so if there's nothing much that appeals to you in the annual update, you could version hop and still pay $120 to get the following year's refresh. And the buy once advantage holds true for Photolab too. If you haven't changed your camera system and therefore don't need new profiles, you could use the same version for many years without issue. Far and away the best value is, of course, Zona Studio, which is subscription only too. But as you can see, vastly more reasonably priced than Adobe. And as for On1, I've included them for the sake of completeness, but there's no way I'd advise you to actually buy that particular app. But let's say that you're smart enough to time your purchases with Black Friday sales. What impact does that have? Well, again, I had Gemini crunch the numbers, and here is the resulting data. Full price in dark orange, Black Friday pricing in light orange. Again, this is based on updating every year, so take that prior caveat about Capture One and Photolab as written. The price of owning Adobe drops to just under $900 over that 5-year period, just ahead of Capture One, and DxO drops to $560. Just to satisfy my chums out there in open source land, I've also included the pricing for that too, which is of course zero initial cost, zero to update, and zero on Black Friday. Feel free to gloat, my open source advocates. I also had Gemini factor in all the other possible discount scenarios that happen over the year, and that data looks like this. Before we move on from the question of pricing, there's another scenario we need to look at, getting the Lightroom only plan. If you have no need for a pixel editor, then you can save well over a third of your subscription costs. This would reduce your costs over that 5-year period to just under $600, which is a substantial saving, and bring it in line with an annually updated Photolab and considerably cheaper than an annually updated Capture One. Value for money is a nebulous concept and everyone rates it differently, but let's try our best to look at this metric with the more expensive Photoshop and Lightroom bundle. Those annual subscription fees for the Adobe Photography Bundle actually get you 3 full-blown desktop apps, Photoshop, Lightroom CC, and Lightroom Classic, along with Photoshop Web and Mobile, Lightroom Web and Mobile, and 1 terabyte of cloud storage space. Having access to an application as powerful as Photoshop shouldn't be downplayed. Affinity has got closer than anyone to matching the capabilities of Photoshop, but it's certainly not there yet, and Photoshop remains the best raster or pixel editor on the market. Photoshop delivers focus stacking, exposure blending, retouching, compositing, warp and distort tools, frequency separation, layers, generative expand, text and graphics, and print preparation, among hundreds of other tools. Yes, it's now infested with pay-as-you-go AI tools of varying usefulness and quality, but you don't have to use them, and you can stick to the old-school methods if you prefer. If you have a RAW-only workflow, then that's fine, but if you need to do anything more involved than spot removal, then you need something like Photoshop. It should also be pointed out that Photoshop links perfectly with Lightroom, so I can send a stack of images to the app and have it add them as layers, and I find that extremely useful. Even studios that swear by Capture One, perhaps for its rock-solid tethering capabilities, are highly likely to have Photoshop too. It's been the preferred tool of professional retouchers for decades. The Lightroom mobile app now has near feature parity with the desktop app, including subject sky and background AI masking, and an AI scene enhance that's unique to mobile. But again, if you have no need for a pixel editor or are happy to use a free alternative such as Affinity, then the Lightroom-only subscription seems like pretty good value given its capabilities. Lightroom has some highly polarizing features such as generative fill and AI masks, but the core of those raw apps remains the demosaicing and lens corrections, the bottom layer of the post-processing pyramid. The raw files produced by cameras all vary from brand to brand, and we photographers rely on the developers to include support for our cameras and lenses so that we can edit them. Lightroom has the most comprehensive support for lenses and cameras on the market. And if you have anything remotely esoteric in your gear bag, then it's highly likely to be the only app that supports it. Quite often, photographers find themselves in a situation where the only mainstream RAW editor that supports their new camera model is Lightroom. That said, Adobe don't put anywhere near as much work into those lens corrections as someone like DxO. And so long as your kit is fairly mainstream, you will see better results in Photolab. Lightroom's demosaicing has come a long way in the last 5 years, particularly with regard to my camera brand, Fuji. But at this top end of the market, where we're investing hundreds of dollars every year to get the best possible results, Photolab and Capture One offer more nuanced results with better profiles. The addition of adaptive profiles in version 14.2 of Lightroom, released this time last year, was a bit of a game changer, providing a much better starting point for an edit than the often aggressive auto button. Masking has always been a strong feature of Lightroom, and in the last couple of years, I've added a range of AI masks that, when used carefully, can greatly speed up post-processing. Generative Fill is another one of those new AI features and has rapidly become a favorite tool thanks to its ability to cleanly delete unwanted elements from a photograph. The AI denoising model in Lightroom isn't as capable as DxO's Deep Prime, but the gap between the two has been shrinking over the last 2 years. Some photographers don't need clever asset management capabilities, but if you do want anything more nuanced than an enhanced file manager, then Lightroom is far superior to its immediate competition. Adobe added an AI-based culling feature towards the end of 2025, but after the usual round of gushing promotional videos, it turned out to be fairly useless, either being too fussy and not selecting anything, or too generous and accepting everything. Suffice to say that Lightroom has far more features than the competition, and in many cases, those features work far better too. I am a Mac user using Lightroom Classic on an M2 MacBook Pro Max with 32 gigs of RAM, and I can only speak to performance on my system. But Lightroom is far and away the most responsive RAW editor I've used on my system, with virtually no lag when using sliders and near instantaneous screen updates, so I can quickly see the results of any changes. In terms of those RAW edits, as opposed to asset management, it is markedly faster than both Capture One and Photolab on my Mac. In terms of slider lag, i.e. how long it takes the screen to refresh and update with any changes, I place Lightroom first, Photolab second, and Capture One third. Slider lag in both Capture One and Photolab isn't a deal breaker for me as a hobbyist photographer, but if I was editing a large number of photographs, perhaps because I photographed an event, then it would definitely be something I considered before purchasing. Certainly, if you're performing a fairly intensive adjustment, such as a global clarity change, that spinning wheel in Capture One takes its sweet time to disappear, even with all the GPU acceleration enabled. PC and Mac capabilities vary enormously, and if editing performance and slider responsiveness is important to you, then I strongly suggest you trial each app on your own system so that you get a proper like-for-like comparison. So after all that number crunching, feature comparing, and slider dragging, we're left with the question we started with: is Lightroom worth it in 2026? And the answer, irritatingly, is that it depends on who's asking. See, if you're fundamentally opposed to subscriptions, then it doesn't matter what features Adobe adds. You'll either use another app or perhaps sail the 7 seas. The fact is that they are never going to change that subscription model because they're a massive global corporation driven entirely by the profit line, and the move to Creative Cloud has tripled their income since it was introduced. But let's say that you are not ideologically opposed to subscriptions, and that while you might draw the line at paying an annual fee to use a clever clipboard utility, you don't consider $15 a month an outrageous sum of money to get access to Lightroom and Photoshop. In that case, and I include myself in that category, yes, I think Lightroom is worth it. I've seen in the comments section on my videos on countless occasions photographers saying that they don't think the rental cost of this software is outrageous. Another comment that regularly pops up is photographers asking why we're happy to spend thousands on hardware but begrudge the cost of a couple of takeaway coffees a month for the software we need to process every shot. It always helps to get the big picture though, and that was why I included all those charts and costings at the start, showing the price over a 5-year period. Yes, it's just a couple of coffees a month, but as that round figure shows, coffee has got really expensive lately. The way I see it, whether or not Lightroom is worth it to you and your photography in 2026 comes down to one basic question: convenience. I've tested all the raw editors over the last few years, budget editors created by independent coders, mid-tier editors and the high-end. And while apps like Photolab deliver better output in specific areas, nothing matches Lightroom's combination of speed, features, camera support, and ecosystem integration. For most photographers, it's simply the path of least resistance. If you shoot mainstream gear, rarely need Photoshop, and don't mind a slower editing experience, Photolab or Capture One might save you money in the long run. If you value speed, broad compatibility, and a polished ecosystem, Lightroom remains hard to beat even at $20 a month. Lightroom isn't the best at everything, but it's good enough for almost everything, and that's harder to achieve than it sounds, as you'd know if you tried the competition. I'm not thrilled about paying Adobe in perpetuity, but I'm also not switching anytime soon. And that'll do us for this look at Lightroom's place in the photographer's toolbox in 2026. Are you a happy Lightroom user, or are you searching for a cheaper option? Do let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you got value from it, consider subscribing to my channel for more photo, video, and drone-related content from me. Till the next time, guys. Ta-ta.